Hello and welcome to part 2 of Faith and Fury Review, the Chaos Heretic Astartes part of the review. In the first video, which is linked down below, we went over all the Adeptus Astartes things and the righteous Black Templars. Let's begin.
The Dark King.
Hello and welcome to another SkaredCast review video. I'm Skari, your grateful host. Today we jump into Faith and Fury, the Heretic Astartes rules. This is part of the ongoing Psychic Awakening campaign. There's a global, essentially, campaign they're doing. The book itself full of chock-a-block lore and stories about the Taledius or Taledius or Talyedius system, depending on how you want to pronounce it, where forces of the Imperium and Chaos in the Segmentum Solar of the Warhammer 40,000 universe are pitted up in mighty combat after the Cicatrix Maledictum rent the universe in twain. So the first video talked about the Adeptus Astartes loyalist aspects. That was quite a long video. So this is part 2, where I dive in to the Heretic Astartes, which is a series of rules for the Heretic Astartes that discuss cool new stratagems, relics, and other things that you can use for your champions of ruin. Now, the legions, the first founding legions that you can basically draw rules for here, or expanded from the Chaos Space Marine book, are the Word Bearers, the Night Lords, the Alpha Legion. Who is Alfarius? You should be saying, I am Alfarius. The Iron Warriors, the Emperor's Children, and the World Eaters. Each of these mini supplements doesn't have as much in terms of information, like no special characters or anything like that. However, they do give a variety of really cool new warlord traits, stratagems, and relics that you can use for your legion itself, thus adding a very needed sense of cool stuff that you can use. Some of these are very powerful. I'm very excited to show them with you because, hey, anything that's better against Space Marines, count me in. Let's start with the Champions of Ruin, the basically Chaos Space Marines rules. What they've done is they've added in some of the stuff like Hateful Assault, which is the same as Angel of Death, essentially. Malicious Volleys, which is Bolter Drill. And then Demon Weapons, which you can basically use special Artifacts of Cruelty, which are Relic Weapons, which are Demon Weapons, and you can choose to make them use their demonic capabilities. If you do, you roll a dice, and on a 1, you take a wound and can't do anything for the phase. On a 2+, you basically get to unlock the demon in these weapons, giving you some cool special abilities to use. Now, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 demon weapons. You have a demon weapon for Chaos Undivided, so any unit can take one. And then you have 1 for each of the Chaos Gods, Tzeentch, Slaanesh, Khorne, and Nurgle. So let's dive into it. In the fight phase, you roll the dice. On a 1, you suffer a wound, and you cannot use. On a 2+, you can fight with the weapon as normal, which is pretty cool. You have Kuak the Boundless. It's a Tzeentch power sword. So you can use it for a forward power sword, hell forward sword, or force sword. And it basically has strength user -3 AP, D3 damage. When resolving an attack made with this weapon, invulnerable saves cannot be taken. That's pretty cool. An ignore invulnerable save, D3 damage, AP -3 weapon. That can be very powerful against characters that have invulnerable saves, like an Archon. Oh no! Oh no, I'm terrified. Considering Tzeentch is a very popular faction, Cody, I'm looking at you. TJ Lanigan, Jim Vessel, all the guys that use Tzeentch in their armies. That's kind of neat, actually. Then we have Tharis and Real, the Rapacious Talons, and they've called cool stories. I'm not going to bother you with stories of the Dark Gods. Slaanesh model with 2 lightning claws or 2 sets of malefic talons. These relics replace lightning claws, etc. They are melee weapons, strength user minus 2 AP, 2 damage. When resolving an attack with this weapon, you can re-roll the wound roll, so it's like lightning claws. When rolling for this weapon's demon ability on a 2+, you can make a number of attacks equal to the result that you rolled. So on a 2+, you gain 2 extra attacks. On a 6+, you get 6 extra attacks with 2 damage, lightning claws. That means you've got your Lord running in with his number of attacks, +1 when he charges, plus D6 essentially. So you can have like 10 attacks, rerolling ones to hit, rerolling all wound rolls at 2 damage minus 2 AP. That will kill a lot of Primaris Intercessors. And Slaanesh, Emperor's Children, have some of the coolest stratagems and stuff in this book altogether. Then we have Zal the Wrathful. It's a Khorne model with a Power Sword or Hellforged Sword. It's a melee weapon, minus 5 AP. So when you definitely don't want anyone to get an armor save of any kind, bring minus 5 AP. Very similar to the Burning Sword, which is an Adeptus Astartes relic. It is 2 damage. However, in rolling for this weapon demon ability on a 2+, add a number to the strength equal to what you rolled. So you could have +6 strength, or you could have +2 strength minimum if the demon weapon goes off. You could have +3, +4 strength, which is like a power fist. It's 2 damage, minus 5 AP. Kind of cool. Makes you a little killy lord pretty neat, nifty with a power sword as well. Then we have Galax, the Fist of Decay. This is one of my favorites. It's a power fist Nurgle model only. Replaces it with a power fist that is ×2 strength, minus 3 AP, and straight 3 damage. You subtract -1 from hit roll. It's a bit of a bummer there. But an unmodified wound roll of a 2+, always wounds. So you always wound on a 2+, unmodified 2+, which is awesome. So whatever you punch, you're wounding on a 2+, and then it's 3 damage if it goes through. So go up to a knight, punch it on a 2+, 3 damage a pop. That can be pretty neat. Then we have Gulaka the Black Axe. The Black Axe makes its fateful return from some of the cool supplements from 7th edition back into the lore here. It's a model with a Power Axe, Force Axe, or Demonic Axe, and it's a melee weapon. It's only 1 damage, and it's AP 0. However, when you make an attack with this weapon, an unmodified wound roll of a 4+ inflicts 1 mortal wound in addition to any other damage. So roll the hit, roll the wound, any 4+ is the wound, just do 4 like mortals in addition to damage. So you don't really need the AP. It'd be cool if it had some AP. You know, come on, GW. It's a giant demon axe. Why wouldn't it have AP? And then we jump into the first of the legions. The Word Bearers. So the Word Bearers are essentially the Black Templars of Chaos, in my opinion. They're like the most devout. You know, Lorgar was one of the guys that helped Horus fall, etc., etc., etc. So they like summoning demons and use chaplains a lot and stuff like that as well. Now, something I will say is I'm a little disappointed in Faith and Fury. They didn't take a moment to sort of just add 1 paragraph that would add like some extra rules to the chapter traits, so the Legion traits, kind of like they did with all the chapters of the Adeptus Astartes. That's a bit of a, like, I feel like that would have been really cool. However, you do get access to the new Warlord traits, new stratagems. That's kind of cool. I just wish they would have just kind of been like, hey, if you make your whole army Word Bearers, they get this cool little extra thing. I think that's a missed opportunity on GW's part. So, if a Word Bearer's character is your Warlord, you can use the Warlord traits below. First is called the Voice of Lorgar. Add 3 inches to the aura weapons, the aura abilities, okay? Exalted Possession. The Warlord gains the Possessed and Demon keywords. Now, this is really important because there are a lot of things that help Possessed and Demons keywords, like Master of Possession, any of the demonic locuses. So if you have an army of so if you give him like the Mark of Khorne, then he all of a sudden benefits from, he's like a demon of Khorne now, and that, like, there's some pretty cool stuff you can do giving him like Nurgle, which means he gets extra damage, and if there's a locust nearby, that sort of thing. That's pretty cool. You add 1 to strength and attacks, and add 1 to the move, so he gets +1 move, +1 strength, +1 attack, making him like kind of nasty. I really like this one. You know, the extra strength and attacks is really useful, but getting the Possessed and Demon keyword means that there are a lot of cool abilities and psychic powers and things that could affect your Warlord as well. Demonic Whispers. Gain D3 command points. That's always really powerful. Once per battle, you can reroll a single hit roll, wound roll, damage, or saving roll, and it's not for the Warlord, it's just for your army. So you get a free reroll. That's pretty cool. Always useful, with Engram Chip and things like that. The Master of the Union. Add 1 to attacks of models in friendly demon units within 6 inches of this Warlord. So +1 attack to Word Bearer's demon units. So things like Possessed and that's kind of cool. Okay. Then we have the Die Abolished. When the Warlord would lose a wound, roll a d6, adding 3 if the wound would be lost as a mortal wound. On a 6+, that is not lost. So you get a 6-up, feel no pain. That becomes a 3+ against mortal wounds to ignore that damage. That's pretty cool. Sacrilegious Regeneration. Add 1 to the wounds characters of the Warlord, and at the start of the turn, Warlord regains d3 lost wounds. Could be pretty snazzy on a Demon Prince, making him hard to take down with that, just an automatic regeneration. Plus, you could make it any mark, right? So you could have that sort of thing, and maybe even regenerate them that way as well with psychic powers and whatnot. It's kind of neat. Then you have Word Bearer's Stratagems. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Word Bearer's Stratagems, and you have access to these as long as you have a Word Bearer's Detachment. 1 command point. The most expensive is 2 command points. The rest, 1 command point. So very inexpensive stratagems. Dark Pact. 1 command point. Use it at the end of your movement phase when a Word Bearer's character attempts to summon a unit of demons. When making the summoning roll for that attempt, you can reroll the dice, and you do not suffer any mortal wounds for rolling doubles or triples. Cool. So if you really want to summon stuff, Word Bearers will help you do that, and you're not going to suffer damage that way. Number 2, Cursed Despoilers is 2 command points. Use this stratagem after deployment, but before the battle round begins. If a Word Bearer's unit for your army is on the battlefield, select 1 terrain feature other than a fortification. Units entirely on or within do not get the benefit of cover for saving throws. Could be really handy if they have like a big building that you want to just, hey, you know what? You just don't get a cover save for that building, which means your Centurion Devastators in that building that are Imperial Fists and getting all the bonuses for being in cover aren't getting any bonuses. Or see your Latok Pathfinders or your Eliminators all in that building. Yeah, those guys there, they don't get the bonus to their cover saves anymore, which would make them a lot easier to kill. So it can be a really handy stratagem sometimes. 1 command point, Malevolent Covenant. On a caveat, I love the names of these stratagems. Kudos to GW. Nice creative names. Use a stratagem in your psychic phase after a psyker from your army, so Word Bearer's psyker, fails a psychic test. The power is automatically manifested at the minimum required warp value without having been rolled and cannot be resisted by Deny the Witch attempt. After resolving the effects of the psychic power, that psyker unit suffers 1 mortal wound. So, for 1 command point, take a mortal wound after you failed a psychic test to automatically pass the psychic test, and your opponent cannot attempt a Deny the Witch roll. That could be really powerful in the right situation. And sometimes you'd want to automatically, say, spend the command point to fail the psychic test, to then spend a command point to reroll dice to fail the psychic test, to then have it go off without the enemy being able to deny it. Say if you really need that warp time, or you really need that death hex, or something like that as well. 1 command point, Apostle of the Dark Council. You select a Word Bearer Priest, so a Dark Apostle essentially, and that becomes a Dark Council. The model knows 1 additional prayer and can chant 1 additional prayer. So you can essentially make a Master of Sanctity, but for Word Bearers. They get a priest that can cast 2 of their chants per battle round. That could be very useful. Some of them are quite good. And, -1 to hit on something and +1 to hit on something or whatever. Like, there's some cool synergy you can use that. For 1 command point, that might be worth it if you're taking a Word Bearer's detachment. Cursed Despoilers. Oh, that we already did that one. Revered Host, 1 command point. Stratagem is used in the fight phase when a Word Bearer possessed unit or Word Bearer greater possessed unit is chosen to fight. Till the end of the phase, add 1 to the damage of all melee weapons in that unit. For 1 command point, add 1 to damage on all your possessed. That means a greater possessed becomes 3 damage. He's like an uber mini Demon Prince. Now that is cool. 1 command point, Hexagrammic Ward. Use it in any phase after making a saving throw for Word Bearer's character. Treat the result as a 6. Each Word Bearer character can use this stratagem once. So if you really have that clutch roll to be like, does he live? You can spend, I'm just going to spend a command point and make it count as a 6. So it could actually be, you know, just like an armor save that you need a 6 to pass, or it could be an invul save and you can just automatically pass it, which is pretty cool. 1 command point, Vengeance for Monarchia. This is a against Ultramarines only. So when a word bearer's unit can re-roll hit and re-roll wound rolls against Ultramarines in the fight phase. So for 1 command point, re-roll hits, re-roll wounds against Ultramarines for 1 command point, because word bearers aren't exactly friendly with the Ultramarines. Now we have the artifacts of the word bearers. So you can give 1 to a character model instead of the artifacts as chaos presented elsewhere. The Crown of the Blasphemer. Improve the invulnerable saver model by 1 to a max of 3+. Subtract 1 from leadership of enemy models. So essentially giving a Chaos Lord or giving a Demon Prince +1 invulnerable save. That's pretty cool. Baleful Icon. When charge roll is made against friendly wordbearer units within 6 inches of the model with its relics, subtract 2 from the result. That's very, very strong. So any wordbearer's unit that gets charged, if they are within 6 inches of this model, the unit that was charged, -2, so they count as being in a crater, or like that. That could be super powerful. The Book of the Reviler. Model that is not a demon only. Before the battle, you can read from the book. If you do, randomly generate 2 Chaos Boons for that model from the table on the Chaos Boon Stratagem in Codex Chaos Space Marines. You re-roll Spawndom and Demonhood and duplicate the results. Duplicate results, sorry. Note that doing so does not cost any command points, and any enemy character, vehicle, or monster model does not have to have been... Oh, and you don't have to have killed a character monster. So you can just get a boon. 2 boons for your character before the game begins, as long as they're not a demon. That's kind of cool. I don't know what they are, but maybe someone can let me know in the comments what the list is and which ones you would like to try and roll. Malefic Tome, it's a Psyker model only. A model with this relic knows 1 additional psychic power, and they add +1 for psychic tests. That's always solid. +1 to a psychic test and know an additional power. That's really good. The Ashen Axe. It's a Chain Axe replacement. It's melee +1 strength -2 AP. D3 damage. Enemy units within 1 inch of this relic cannot fall back unless they have the vehicle or Titanic keyword or have a minimum move characteristic, so like an aircraft. But enemy units within an inch cannot fall back unless they're vehicles. That is incredibly powerful, as we know. And it's really cool they're giving Chaos that's like some form of like shenanigans in close combat where you can hold people in combat to prevent people from shooting you to death. And that's really neat. Then we have the Epistle of Lorgar, priest only. A model with this relic, Chance of Prayer, you can reroll the dice. Add 1 to the leadership model of friendly word bearers within 6 inches. So +1 leadership aura, and can reroll the dice for the prayers, which is pretty cool. Can combine that with Apostle of the Dark Council, and you have 2 rerollable prayers, which is pretty neat. Also has access to some really cool new tactical objectives and a name generator, because I always wanted to name my Demon Prince Sorot Drenulan. Now we dive in to the terrific Night Lords. See what I did there? Because they're terrific. Same thing. I wish they would have put in some sort of cool Legion trait that kind of added in to their Legion traits if you decide to run an army of just Night Lords. I guess they didn't do that because they want to encourage you to play, you know, a detachment of Night Lords and some demons and something splintered in, like a big chaos conglomerate of everything. So a lot of the bonuses aren't designed to be like, 1 army of just Ultramarines gets this cool bonus, because only filthy Imperials would do that. Chaos would kind of be a hodgepodge of just a bunch of everything mixed together. Their warlord traits go as such. Night Haunter's Curse. Once per battle round, you can reroll a hit roll, wound roll, damage roll, advance roll, charge roll, saving throw made for this warlord. Cool. Makes your warlord good at staying alive, and it's once per battle round, so that could be pretty neat on a Demon Prince especially. 1 piece at a time. This warlord can charge in a turn in which they fell back. When resolving an attack made with a melee weapon, subtract 1 from the hit roll if you're trying to hit the Warlord. So -1 to hit in close combat. That's pretty cool. Makes them harder to hit, and they can charge and fall back at the same time. Murderous Reputation. When resolving an attack made by this Warlord, an unmodified 6 inflicts 1 mortal wound on the target. So a modified hit roll. So if you roll a 6 to hit, instant mortal wound, that could be pretty neat, nifty on a Demon Prince especially. You've got a bunch of attacks, roll to hit, rerolling ones. Any 6s are just a mortal wound, and then you roll to wound. You just like really make sure your Demon Prince becomes more killy than it already is. Killing Fury. Add D3 attacks to the characteristic of this Warlord in a turn in which they charged, move, or charged and performed Heroic Intervention, which means you get 1 for, like, if you do that, you get +1 for being Heretic Astartes, and then you get plus D3. So it's D3 +1, so minimum of +2 attacks every time they charge, Heroic Intervene, or were charged, or etc., etc. That's a lot of attacks, say on a Demon Prince. It's a lot of attacks. 1 with the Shadows. When resolving an attack made against this Warlord whilst they are entirely in or within terrain, add 1 to the saving throw. Whilst this Warlord is entirely on or within terrain feature, improve its invulnerable save by 1 to max of 3+. So it gets +1 save if it's in terrain, and it does get +1 to invulnerable save, but to a maximum of 3+. And number 6 is Dirty Fighter. Whilst there are more friendly models within 3 inches of this Warlord than enemy models, when resolving an attack made with a melee weapon by this Warlord, add 1 to the wound roll. Dirty Fighter. So if there's more dudes near you than enemy, you get +1 to wound. It also means, though, that you only need 2 models to gang up on a knight to get +1 to wound, or a single character. So you could have your Demon Prince go in and get +1 to wound as long as he's got a friendly model within 3 inches of him. Doesn't even have to be engaged with the model he's fighting. He's just putting on a show. That's kind of cool. Then we have stratagems. There are 8 Night Lord stratagems. Night Lord stratagems. And then we have the artifacts of the Night Lords. I'm sad they didn't give them like a really cool name. They just called them artifacts of the Night Lords instead of like shady death machines of the shadows that make you scream at night. Come on, Games Workshop. Where's that creative blood claws of the blood of the blood wolf blood angels sort of thing. 1 command point for each one except for one that's worth 2 command points, which is probably one of my favorites. But 1 command point, Midnight Clad. Stratagem in your opponent's shooting phase. When a Night Lord's infantry unit is targeted as a shooting attack, -1 to hit them. That's kind of cool, actually. So you can get basically -1 to hit on an infantry unit. Neat. And it's only 1 command point. Lightning Fast Reflexes is 2 command points. This is 1 command point. We have come for you. 1 command point. Use a stratagem at the start of your opponent's movement phase. Select a Night Lord's unit from your army that is not a vehicle. Until the start of your next turn, enemy units within an inch of that unit cannot fall back, unless they are vehicle or titanic, or have a minimum move characteristic. AKA, you can pick any Night Lord's unit that's not a vehicle, so biker, infantry, whatever. And for 1 command point, anything that's not a vehicle or tank cannot fall back. Do you see a trend here? They're giving you stuff you can go in, charge in, hold people in close combat, and prevent you from getting shot. Because shooting is becoming a lot more powerful nowadays, but it's kind of cool to have stuff that can stop your enemy from falling back. 2 command points. Vox Scream. This is one of my favorites. Use a stratagem at the end of your movement phase. Select one enemy unit within 18 inches of Night Lords. Until the start of your next movement phase, enemy units cannot be affected by any of the selected units' auras. So, at the end of your movement phase, you can pick an enemy unit within 18 inches of a Night Lord's unit and spend 2 command points and shut off their auras. That's it. No ifs, buts, ands, or whats. They cannot be affected by any auras that unit has. That can be huge against an army of, say, Space Marines that has a Chapter Master. You can just shut him down. Be like, no auras for you. No. Prey on the Weak, 1 command point. Use a stratagem in your shooting phase or in the fight phase when a Night Lord's unit is chosen to shoot or fight. Till the end of that phase, when resolving an attack against an enemy unit whose models have a lower leadership characteristic than you, add 1 to the hit roll. So if you have a higher leadership than your opponent, you get +1 to hit. Kind of cool. Makes leadership relevant, but +1 to hit, say Unit of Havocs, or something like that. Kind of neat. It also means that having negative modifiers to leadership comes in handy. So you can Make your guys better at murdering them. From the Knight. Use this stratagem at the start of your charge phase. Select a Night Lord's infantry unit from your army that is entirely on or within a terrain feature. Until the end of the turn, when a charge roll is made for that unit, add 2 to the result. And when resolving an attack made by a melee weapon, add 1 to the hit roll. So for 1 command point, you get +2 to your charge roll and +1 to hit, which, I don't know about you, but that is pretty cool because you can use it even if you come out of Deep Strike Reserve. Had to have a bit of tea there. Raptor's Strike, or Raptor Strike, 1 command point. Use this stratagem in your charge phase before making a charge roll for a Night Lord's jump pack unit that was set up on the battlefield as reinforcements. Roll 3d6 for the charge instead of 2d6. You get a 3d6 charge, you can make it 3d6 plus 2, and you can make them Warp Talons to deny Overwatch. Boom! Turkey done, and then guess what? You can We Have Come For You and stop people from falling back. Tau beware, Night Lords are coming to come get you. They're gonna come get you. Hit and run, 1 command point. Use the stratagem at the start of your charge phase. Select 1 Night Lord's unit from your army. That unit can charge even if it fell back. Cool. And 1 command point, flay them alive. Use the stratagem in the fight phase when an enemy unit is destroyed as a result from attack made by a Night Lord's model. Until the next turn, any morale tests within 12 inches of that Night Lord unit must roll 2d6 or an additional dice, and you can choose which of them to be discarded. So you can choose what to be discarded. So if you're going up against, like you can be like, I want you to keep that one. So 1 guy lives so that I can surround you. That'd be kind of cool. Artifacts of the Night Lords, the Relics. 2 weapons and 4 pieces of gear. The Flare. Power Sword replacement. +1 strength, -3 AP, 2 damage. Each model destroyed by this weapon counts as 2 for the purpose of morale. So cool if you're going into a bunch of Horde guys and you just want to clear out some Horde guys. Situational. The 2 damage -3 is pretty cool, +1 strength. Decent though. The Storm Bolt Plate. Infantry model only, but it makes their save 2+. When a model with this relic always counts as being in cover. So 2+ armor save and always in cover. So technically a 1+ armor save. Vox Demonicus. Infantry model only. While an enemy unit is within 6 inches of a model with this relic, reduce the range of that unit's auras to 1 inch. In addition, enemy units that are set up on the battlefield cannot be set up within 12 of a model with this relic. Really cool to have essentially a Phobos Captain and Infiltrator 12-inch denial bubble for deep striking, but also really cool to kind of get him stuck in, and then essentially any character or any unit within 6 inches, they have an aura ability of 1 inch, which means things like Infiltrators, their aura ability of can't be within 12 inches is reduced to 1 inch. Oh, silly. I love it. Lots of cool, like, tricksy things you can do here if you're a savvy tactical player, or if you just want to play for fun. You can actually build some really fun things out of this book. Talons of the Night Terror. Model that can fly. Just model that can fly. It's a weapon. When the model fights, makes D3 additional attacks, or D6 additional attacks if you charged or heroically intervened. So D6 +1. So a lot of extra attacks. And it's +1 strength, -1 AP, just 1 damage. That's it. Oh, it makes D3 additional attacks, or D6 additional attacks. So in addition to your normal attacks, you would get an additional D3 or D6 attacks, just that are +1 strength, -1 AP, 1 damage. Cool. Just like an extra weapon that gives you additional attacks. That's cool. Scourging Chains. Scourging Chains. Improve the armor penetration characteristic of melee weapons. A model with this relic is equipped by 1. Subtract 1 from the attacks of enemy models whilst they're within 1 inch of a model with this relic. So it's just a piece of gear. -1 attacks to enemy models within 1 inch, and +1 AP to all its melee weapons. And it doesn't say, yeah, so that's cool. Misery of the Meek. Once per battle, at the start of your movement phase, a model with this relic can drink from the Misery of the Meek. It immediately regains D6 lost wounds, and until the start of your next turn, add D3 to that model's attack characteristics. So can heal D3 wounds like a healing potion with a vitality potion. Gives them extra attacks and wounds. That's kind of cool. And of course you have Night Lord's tactical objectives and your Night Lord's name generator. I've always wanted to name my Chaos Lord Mirak Viricor. Rawr. Then we dive in to the Alpha Legion. I am Alfarius. You are Alfarius. We are all Alfarius. Warlord traits go as such. I am Alfarius. This is probably one of my favorite warlord traits out of the entire book. In addition to this warlord trait, this warlord has one randomly selected warlord trait from Chaos Space Marines. So you can randomly select a warlord trait and have this one at the same time. If this warlord is destroyed, you can immediately select another Alpha Legion character model from your army to take their place and generate a warlord trait for them, including this one. So you could include this one and then give them a random one, right? If this mission you're playing grants victory points for destroying the enemy warlord, your opponent will only achieve that objective if all Alpha Legion characters from your army have been destroyed. That's cool. It's pretty neat. It means, especially in like ETC and regular book missions where Slay the Warlord is a thing, not being able to get Slay the Warlord can be a bit of a pain in the neck sometimes. Especially if you're getting very aggressive with your Warlord and he dies, and you're like, well, it's not him. He's Alfarius now. Oh, he's Alfarius now. And you're trying to chase every character. Clandestine. When resolving an attack made against this Warlord, subtract 1 from the hit roll. So it's just -1 to hit this Warlord. Shooting and close combat. Headhunter. This Warlord can target character units even if they're not the closest enemy unit. When making an attack with a ranged weapon against an unmodified roll of a 6, inflicts a mortal wound on the target in addition to any other damage. So you can kind of combine that with some cool, like relic guns, for example, combi bolter stuff. You know, there's one here that's the Viper's Bite, which is like a storm bolter that's 2 damage, for example. So you could combine that with Headhunter, have him going around shooting in Terminator armor or something, like shooting characters, doing mortal wounds, and like sniping characters. That's kind of cool. Master of Diversion. At the start of the first battle round, before the first turn begins, select up to 3 Alpha Legion units, remove them, and redeploy them as per the mission. So you can redeploy them like into the deployment zone. If you redeploy transport, units inside remain embarked. That is really cool. You can redeploy with the Warlord trait for Alpha Legion. I like that a lot. Anything that allows you that control before the game even starts is very, very strong. Cult Leader. When resolving an attack made by a model in a friendly cultist unit, Alpha Legion cultist unit within 6 inches of this Warlord, an unmodified wound roll of a 6 becomes AP +1. So their little auto guns get AP +1 because they're being inspired by an Alpha Legion commander. And then we have the Faceless Commander. Once per battle at the end of your movement phase, you remove the Warlord and set him up anywhere within 3 inches of a friendly Alpha Legion infantry unit, more than 9 inches away from enemy models. So you can make him bounce around the battlefield. Could always be kind of handy if you're like, a flank is getting completely crushed and you're like, whoop, gotta get out of here. And he's like, boop, I am Alfarius. Alpha Legion Stratagems. If it's Battleforge, you can use them. Forward Operatives. Use a stratagem during deployment when you set up an Alpha Legion infantry unit. At the start of the first battle round, before the turn begins, you can move the unit up to 9 inches. Cannot move within 9 inches of any enemy models. And if both players have the same sort of thing, the player who's taking the first turn moves their units first. And that's it. Each unit can only be selected once. So this is cool if you want to get up close to the enemy. It's only infantry units, so they have to be out of a transport, sadly. However, you can always use it to like deploy your Havocs on the like a great field of fire and be like, I can see everything on the table, my last cannons, and then go, you know what? I got seized on. Oh, I'm gonna hide them underneath here or something. So it's like an insurance policy, or gets, I know, berserkers up the field faster or something like that. 2 command points. Conceal. Use the stratagem at the start of your opponent's shooting phase. Select an Alpha Legion infantry unit for your army. Until the end of that phase, enemy models can only target it if it's the closest visible target. So Alpha Legion get their own rendition of Cloud of Flies. Really powerful. Because it's at the start of the opponent's shooting phase, so you can just be like, see this unit? Yeah, you cannot shoot this unit. Making, say, your Alpha Legion Havocs very hard to deal with. or anything. Could be anything. I'm just saying Havocs because that's a unit that you usually want to keep alive so their last cannons can shoot stuff or rocket launchers or whatever. Renasant Infiltration. 1 command point. Use it at the end of your movement phase. Select an Alpha Legion infantry unit that is more than 3 inches from any enemy models. You cannot select a unit that arrives as reinforcements this turn. Remove that unit from the battlefield. At the end of your next movement phase, they can deep strike. So you can essentially do the Genestealer Cult thing of pulling up a unit, putting it in deep strike. That is incredibly powerful to win missions. Line breaker, grab a big blob of 20 Chaos Space Marines and teleport them around the battlefield, or whatever you need. It's any Alpha Legion infantry. It could be your obliterators, like you could put your obliterators back in deep strike and bring them back in a different part of the table. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do with this as well. 2 command points. Ambush. Stratagem in your opponent's movement phase after an enemy unit set up on the battlefield as reinforcements. Select 1 Alpha Legion unit that's within 18 inches of that unit to shoot at it as if it were your shooting phase. So Alpha Legion gain their own version of Auspex scan, except it's an 18-inch instead of a 12-inch, and it's any Alpha Legion unit, not just an infantry unit. So you could have anything shoot at whatever showed up, which is pretty cool. One of my favorite ones is the next one. It's 1 command point called Sabotaged Armory. Use it in any phase before your opponent rolls to see if a vehicle explodes. If any Alpha Legion units from your army are on the battlefield, okay, add 3 to one of the d6 rolled. The roll cannot be re-rolled. That's any vehicle, right? So having trouble with Tyrannus Knights that can get back up unless they explode, you can spend a command point to add 3 to one of the d6 roll. So you could totally make it into a 6. That is awesome. Any 3+, so on a 3+, the vehicle goes boom. That can be so powerful, and it's 1 command point. Anyway, let's just say I like that sort of thing, because you're like, oh, you thought you were safe, eh? Well, that is going to explode. Because it exploded, that takes d6 the mortals, that takes d3 mortals, that takes, whatever it is. And it can do a lot of damage. Feigned Retreat, 1 command point. Use a stratagem in your movement phase. When you fall back, unit from your army can still shoot. So it's kind of cool. You can still shoot it after you fall back. Not as powerful as the sort of charge and shoot and still fall back, but still pretty cool. You can fall back and shoot with a bunch of bolters or whatever. 1 command point, Scrambled Coordinates. Use a stratagem in your opponent's movement phase when an enemy unit set up on the battlefield is reinforcements, but before it is placed on the battlefield. That unit must be set up more than 12 inches away from Alpha Legion units in your army rather than 9. This is a secret hidden gem. Genestealer cults, beware. Any deep striking unit has to be 12 inches away from any Alpha Legion model in your army. It would be worth taking a detachment of Alpha Legion just for this stratagem, allowing you to deny deep strikers the ability to get in and do damage to your army. That is really powerful. I really like that a lot. And you could even use that to be really mean to blips as well. No, you couldn't do it in the blips because it's in your opponent's movement phase. That's pretty neat, though. Then we have Artifacts of the Alpha Legion. Oh, sorry. And then we have 1 command point. I got so excited about that one. Forgot the last one. We are Alfarius. Use the stratagem before the battle. After nominating your warlord, select 1 Alpha Legion character model from your army that is not your warlord. Determine 1 warlord trait for it. It is regarded as your warlord for the purpose of the warlord trait. Each warlord trait in your army must be unique if randomly generated. You can only use the stratagem once per battle. So you can actually have a second warlord, which is pretty cool. And you can have 1 regular warlord and then another Alpha Legion warlord. Neat. That's kind of cool. Then Artifacts of the Alpha Legion, 2 weapons or 2 weapon likes, and then 4 pieces of gear. Same thing. The Drake Scale Plate, infantry model only, 2+ armor save, and 5 up, feel no pain for mortal wounds. Mind Veil. At the start of the movement phase, if a model with this relic is on the battlefield, roll 3d6. Until the end of that phase, the model's move characteristics equal to the result. The model with this relic can also move in the movement phase, it's equal to result. They can also basically move over models in terrain if they were not there. And in the charge phase, a model with this relic can move across other models other than buildings if they're not there. A model with this relic can charge on a turn which they fell back. Ooh. So the move characteristic is equal to 3d6. So you can basically move 3d6 and then fly, essentially, which is kind of cool. And then you can also charge when you fell back, but you could roll terrible and then have him be really slow. Hydras Wail. Once per battle at the start of the battle round, if a model with this relic is on the battlefield, you can activate the Hydras Wail. Until the end of the battle round, when your opponent spends command points, you roll a d6 on a 4+, you must spend an extra command point. Gives them the ability to do the really cool Calidus Assassin 4+ extra command points thing. Really strong when there's a lot of armies out there that like use command points quite extensively. Then we have the Viper's Bite, model with a combi bolter only. This relic replaces a combi bolter, and it's 24 inches, rapid fire 2, strength 5, minus 3 AP, 2 damage. So it's a 2 damage, minus 3 AP, strength 5 storm bolter. Remember how he said combine that with the targeting characters thing? Could be pretty cool, especially on a Terminator, so it's always rapid firing. Hydra's Teeth. Any model with a bolt weapon. The bolt weapon are granted the following abilities. They automatically hit the target. This weapon wounds on a 2+ unless it's targeting a vehicle or Titanic, in which case it wounds on a 6+. Units do not receive the benefit of cover. So, automatically hits and wounds on 2s. So kind of handy and no cover. Good against like chaff, I guess. Shade Blade. Model with a power sword or force sword only. This relic replaces a power sword or force sword and has the following profile. Melee, +1 strength, minus 3 AP, d3 damage. When resolving an attack made against the bearer, subtract 1 to hit. So you're -1 to hit with a Shade Blade. I guess you could combine it with the Clandestine for another -1 to hit. So you are -2 to hit at all times. That'd be so annoying. The Shade Blade and Clandestine. Very hard to snag Warlord. Then we got the tactical objectives, and we have an Alpha Legion name generator. I've always wanted an aspiring champion named Yerix Legion. Yerix Legion. Next, we dive into a wall of iron. The Iron Warriors, the sworn enemies of the Imperial Fists. That went on for way too long. When a Warlord traits, let's start with that. When a morale test is taken for friendly Iron Warriors units within 6 inches of this Warlord, do not roll the dice, automatically pass morale test. That's your cheapo Abaddon. One of the things that they were using a lot with cultists and stuff, because you can just make them fearless, which is kind of cool. Demon Smith, when resolving an attack made by a model in a friendly Iron Warriors Demon Engine or Iron Warriors Cult of Destruction unit within 6, an unmodified roll of a 6 scores 1 additional hit. So Bolter Drill for any Demon Engines or Cult of Destruction units within 6 inches. Kind of cool if you got some like Iron War Obliterators, 6s to hit or extra hits. That'd be kind of cool. And it's just an additional hit. It's not like an additional roll to hit. Number 3, Iron Without. Iron Without, not within. Without. When this Warlord would lose a wound, 5+, wound is not lost. So 5 up, feel no pain, essentially. 4, Bastion. When resolving an attack made with a weapon that has an armor penetration characteristic of -1 against a friendly Iron Warriors unit within 6 inches of Warlord and receiving the benefit cover, that weapon is treated as having AP 0. So the Salamander's benefit, essentially, for all units within 6 inches of this Warlord that are within cover. Cool. That's really good against like anything that's -1. Siege Master. When resolving an attack made with a ranged weapon by a model in Iron Warriors Havocs or Iron Warriors Vehicles units, reroll wound rolls of 1, making him a lieutenant, essentially a lieutenant for Havocs or Vehicles. Cool, so rerolling 1s to hit, rerolling 1s to wound. Kind of neat for like just a cheapo character. Stoic Advance. Friendly Iron Warriors units do not suffer the penalty for moving and firing heavy weapons within 6 inches of this Warlord. that could be pretty powerful when you combine it with some either dreadnoughts or predators or demon engines or whatever it is that would suffer normally the negative modifiers for moving and shooting. We have 8 Iron Warriors Stratagems, which reflect their way of war. Iron Within, Iron Without. Use this stratagem in any phase when a model in an Iron Warriors unit, this is 1 command point by the way, would lose a wound. On a 6+, that wound is not lost. So for a whole phase, essentially. So 6 up, feel no pain. That's neat. 1 command point, Tank Hunters. Use a stratagem in the shooting phase or the fight phase when you choose an Iron Warriors unit from your army, not cultists, to shoot or fight. Select an enemy vehicle unit until the end of that phase. When rolling an attack from that unit against that vehicle, you can re-roll the wound roll. So you can re-roll wound rolls against a selected vehicle unit. Be like, that thing's gotta die. And then just like re-roll wound rolls to it. That's kind of cool for 1 command point. Methodical Annihilation, 1 command point. Use this stratagem in your shooting phase. When an Iron Warriors unit is chosen to shoot with, select one of the following effects to last until the end of that phase. When resolving an attack made by a ball in the unit, you can reroll the damage roll. Cha-ching. You can reroll any and all of the dice to determine the type characteristic of the weapons. So any D6 type weapons or whatever, you can reroll any or all of the dice, which allows you to get more shots on average. That's kind of cool for 1 command point, or the damage roll, rerolling damage, Havoc unit, last cannons, rerolling damage, etc., etc. That's pretty neat. Rampant Technovirus. Use the stratagem for 1 command point at the start in your shooting phase or the fight phase. When you select an Iron Warriors Obliterator or Iron Warriors Mutilator unit from your army to shoot or fight with. Until the end of that phase, you can reroll any or all of the D3 rolls made for that unit's guns or weapons. That is very powerful for 1 command point, making Obliterators extremely efficient, especially if they're Marcus Lanesh. Just saying. Because it's until the end of the phase. 1 command point, Dour Duty. Use the stratagem in your opponent's shooting phase or charge phase when an Iron Warriors unit is chosen as the target for an attack. Until the end of the phase, when resolving an attack made with a ranged weapon, worsen the armor penetration characteristics of the weapon by 1 so AP -1 becomes AP -0. But if you think and you want to combine it with something like Bastion, which means that any armor penetration of -1 counts as AP 0. If you do Dour Duty and you combine it with that Warlord trait, you could potentially have any weapon that's -2 AP get lowered to -0 AP, which allows you to stay on your regular armor save, which would be cool against anything that's like AP 2 or higher, like heavy bolters or things like that, which is kind of cool actually. And they don't have to be in cover to get this Dour Duty one. It's kind of neat. 2 command points. This is a fun one. Cannon Fodder. Use the stratagem at the start of your opponent's shooting phase. Select an Iron Warriors infantry unit, then select 1 friendly Iron Warriors Chaos Cultist unit, wholly within 6 inches of that specific unit. Until the end of that phase, enemy models cannot target the Iron Warriors infantry unit if the selected Chaos unit is a closest visible target. You have to shoot the cultists. So it's really cool. It's like a cloud of flies. So you can have like your obliterators in the middle of the army, surrounded by cultists, and you could put that on them, and the opponent has to kill the cultists. And just they have to shoot the cultists. So at least they have to kill all the cultists before they can start shooting at your obliterators or your big important Havoc unit. I say Havocs a lot. I like Havocs. That's 2 command points, by the way. 1 command point, Unholy Vigor. Use a stratagem at the start of your movement phase. Select a vehicle Iron Warrior unit. Model from your army. That model regains up to 3 lost wounds. Just 1 command point, heal 3 wounds. Neat. And then 1 command point, Bitter Enemy. This is against Imperial Fists. Those yellow-bellied guys. In the fight phase, when you're chosen to fight against an Imperial Fist unit, you can reroll hit and wound rolls. Because we don't like Imperial Fists, do we, as Iron Warriors? Then we have the artifacts of the Iron Warriors. 1, 2, 3, 4 of them are weapons, 2 of them are gear. Siegebreaker Mace. Remember that one from 7th edition? Anybody who does, leave a comment down below. Say, I mace the mace. Siegebreaker Mace has 2 formats. You can swing with it or smash with it. If you swing with it, it's +2 strength, -2 AP, 2 damage. If you smash with it, it's ×2 strength, -3 AP, d6 damage. When the bearer fights using the smash profile, you can only make 2 attacks. If you roll 2d6 when inflicting damage and discard one of the results. Cool. So you can smash with it, get 2 attacks, or swing with it and get multiple attacks. Okay. The Cranium Malevolence. In your shooting phase, a model with this relic can use the Cranium Malevolence instead of shooting. Roll 1d6 for each enemy vehicle within 9 of that model. On a 4 to 5, that unit suffers d3 mortal wounds. On a 6, that unit suffers 3 mortal wounds. So it's just in the shooting phase instead of shooting. Any enemy vehicle within 9 inches takes d3 mortal wounds on a 4+, 3 mortal wounds on a 6. That could be very powerful if your enemy has a lot of vehicles, like a bunch of Venoms or something like that. That could be pretty nifty. Insidium. A model with this relic gains the Demon keyword. We already talked about Demon and how that helps you access cool things like locuses and whatnot, depending on what mark you have as well. Add 1 to the strength, toughness, and wounds of that model. But you can also give it to something that already has it, right? So it gains the demon keyword if it doesn't already have it, but you can also give it to something that is a demon to give it +1 strength, toughness, and wounds. Neat. Axe of the Forge Master. Model with a power axe or demonic axe. It is a melee weapon, +3 strength, -3 AP, 2 damage, and a cool ability. When resolving an attack made with this weapon against a vehicle, an unmodified hit roll of 5+, so any hit roll of a 5+, which means you can add +1 to hit or whatever, inflicts d3 mortal wounds on the target, in addition to any normal damage. So pretty cool to go around murdering vehicles with that. Then we have the Spite Spitter. I like that name. The Spite Spitter. I hope I didn't spray you where you're sitting. Model with a combi bolter only. It is a 24-inch rapid-fire 2 weapon, so a combi bolter. Strength 5, -3 AP, d3 damage. Okay, decent if you just want an extra relic. Techno Venomous Mechatendrils. A Warpsmith model only. It replaces his Mechatendrils and has the following profile. When a bearer fights, it makes 4 additional attacks with this weapon, and only those 4 attacks can be made with this weapon. When resolving an attack made with this weapon, if you score a hit, you suffer 1 mortal wound, and that's it. You just hit, it does a mortal wound. So you get 4 attacks, so you get to roll 4 dice. If they hit, they just do mortal wounds. That's it. You don't have to roll the wound. That could be kind of cool. They're like stabbing you, which is pretty neat for a Warpsmith model only. And then we, of course, have tactical objectives and an Iron Warriors name generator, because I've always wanted an obliterator named Etrog Nasser. Etrog Nasser, the scourge of the destructing cult. And then we have the Emperor's Children, the children of Slaanesh, the Adeptus Astartes of perfection. Let's just say, as a Drukarian Eldari player, shivers go down my spine. No. But cool, yeah, I still wish they would have put in some extra cool stuff for the Emperor's Children. They do get their specific traits and whatnot, which is fine. They do have some cool traits and relics and stratagems, so let's dive right into that. The Emperor's Children gain warlord traits. The first one is stimulated by pain. Add 1 to your warlord's attacks characteristics for each wound he has suffered to a maximum of +3. If your warlord regains any lost wounds, he loses the bonus attacks. So as he cuts himself, he gets better in combat. Very Slaaneshian. Intoxicating Musk. When resolving an attack made by an enemy unit within 3 inches, subtract 1 to hit. So he has a 3-inch aura bubble of -1 to hit for enemy units. Not bad. I guess you could have an Intoxicating Musk Disco Lord and then have a 3-inch bubble of -2 against vehicles. Cool. Unbound Arrogance. Very arrogant they are. When you choose this warlord to fight with, you and your opponent secretly choose a number... Oh man, so silly. But that's okay. You basically you secretly pick 1 to 3, they secretly pick 1 to 3. If the dice are different, your warlord gains a number of attacks equal to what you picked, essentially. Awesome. That's I don't think you'll ever see that, but that's kind of neat. Flawless Duelist. At the start of the fight phase, roll 1d3. Until the end of the fight of that phase, subtract the result from the attacks characteristics of enemy models to minimum 1 whilst they're within 1 inch of your warlord. That is super powerful. Enemy models within an inch lose d3 attacks. And you can also sub that. There's a demon character that has a warlord trait for the Slanesh demons that's also -1 attack, and that's a 6-inch aura. So you have d3 -1 attacks. That means that like your warlord is not going to be brought down by volume of attacks, which is really, really cool. Glutton for punishment. When resolving an attack against your warlord, reduce damage by 1. So -1 damage against your warlord. Kind of cool. Loathsome Grace. When charge roll is made for this warlord, you can reroll the dice. If the warlord makes a charge or heroic intervention, add 1 to their strength and attacks until the end of the fight phase. So +1 strength, +1 attack when you charge or heroically intervene, and can reroll charges, plus the extra 1 attack already from being a Heretic Astartes, which is pretty neat. You can tell they're going to have a whole bunch of stuff that has to do with characters being good at stuff. Empress Children Stratagems. They only have 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And one of them is worth 2 command points. The rest are worth 1 command point. Combat Elixirs. This is one of the ones that I believe they teased on the community site. Before the battle, select 1 Empress Children unit. You can use the stratagem once per battle. That is not a vehicle or cultist. Then select one of the abilities. So you can give them +1 attack, +1 strength, +2 inches to move, or +1 toughness, and it lasts for the whole game. So you basically make 1 unit good for 2 command points for something else, which you could do it to like a possessed unit or something, give them extra attacks or stuff like that, or Terminators or whatever it is. Kind of neat. 1 command point, Honor the Prince. Use the stratagem in your charge phase after making a charge roll. You can change the result of one of the dice to a 6. For 1 command point, instead of using a reroll, you can just go, oh, I need a 5 or a 6. Cool, 1 command point. I'm going to change this result to a 6. Boom, I get in. That's cool. That's worth a 1 command point. Better than a reroll for a charge. Excruciating Frequencies. 1 command point. Use the stratagem in your shooting phase when an Emperor's Children Noise Marine unit from your army is chosen to shoot with. Until the end of that phase, add 1 to the strength and damage of Blastmasters, Sonic Blasters, and Doom Sirens models in that unit are equipped with. That one is very powerful if you haven't faced big units of Noise Marines with Sonic weapons. They did have a moment in time in early 8th edition where they were quite good, and giving them +1 strength and +1 damage for 1 command point is not bad at all. I really like that stratagem for your Emperor's Children fanatics out there. Excess of Violence, 1 command point. Use this stratagem in the fight phase when you choose an Infantry Children unit from your army to fight with. Emperor's Children Infantry unit, not actual Infantry Children unit. Until the end of that phase, if an attack made by a model in that unit destroys an enemy model, the attacking model can make an additional attack against the same unit using the same weapon. So kill models, get extra attacks. Cool. That makes lots of sense if you're running into like a bunch of orcs or stuff with low armor saves. You can just run in and just continue just like clear them. It's easy to clear big units of chaff, things like that. 1 command point, Incessant Disdain. Use this stratagem at the end of your opponent's charge phase. Select 1 Emperor's Children character model from your army. That model can heroic intervene within 6 inches of enemy models and can move 6 inches as long as it finishes that move within 1 inch of an enemy character model or the nearest enemy model. So you can go closer to a character even though they're not the closest, or end within 1 inch of the nearest enemy model. Cool. So it's a 1 command point, heroically intervene 6 inches. That's can be pretty handy in a pinch. Cruel Duelists for 1 command point. In the fight phase, any fight phase, when an Emperor's Children unit that is not a vehicle or cultist is chosen to fight with. Until the end of that phase, when resolving an attack made with a melee weapon by this model, an unmodified wound roll of 6 has AP -3. Not the best, but could be kind of handy if he's fighting with his bare hands. Tactical Perfection for 1 command point. Use the stratagem at the start of the first battle round, before the first turn begins. Select one Emperor's Children unit. Remove that unit from the battlefield. Set it up again. So redeploy 1 unit for 1 command point. If you redeploy a transport, units embarked remain so. That is really good to feint and then redeploy something to make your opponent let you go first, and then you redeploy something. Or if somebody seizes the initiative on you and you have a vulnerable unit that you need to keep alive, you can grab it and hide it behind line of sight cover. The power of being able to tactically redeploy things is extremely powerful in the middle of a game. Artifacts of the Emperor's Children. The Endless Grin. It sounds ominous. Ominous. When a morale test is taken for an enemy unit within 6 of a model with this relic, your opponent rolls 1 additional dice, and you can choose which one to be discarded. Subtract 1 from the leadership characteristic of models in enemy units within 6 inches of a model with this relic. Cool. 2 weapons, of course. The first one, Fatal Sonancy. Or Sonancy. Relic is a weapon. 12 inches, assault d6, strength 6, -2, 1 damage. When resolving an attack made with this weapon, do not make a hit roll, automatically hit, so it's a flamer. So d6 flamer. When resolving an attack made with this weapon, the target does not receive the benefit of cover. So -2 AP, 1 damage, flamer, strength 6, no cover save. Okay. Armor of Abhorrence. Enemy units cannot fire Overwatch at a model with this relic. I like that already. If an enemy unit fails a morale test while it's within 6 inches of a model with this relic, 1 additional model flees. The Deny Overwatch is really powerful against a lot of things right now. Remnant of the Maraviglia. A priest model only. Ooh, cool. Once per battle, instead of chanting a prayer, a model with this relic can broadcast the Remnant of the Maraviglia until the end of the battle round. When resolving an attack made by a model in a friendly Emperor's Children unit within 6 inches of a model with this relic, you can reroll wounds. So once per game, instead of chanting a prayer, he can broadcast this, and every model in a unit within 6 inches gets reroll wounds. And that's any Emperor's Children unit. So vehicles, tanks, everything. It's just like he becomes Gulliman for 1 battle round. Oh, that's crazy. And it's till the end of the battle round. So that's cool. That is really cool. And it's also in combat as well. So if you really need to do that decisive blow, whew, that's pretty nasty. Distortion. Model with a power sword or force sword only. It is a melee weapon that's -4 AP, D3 damage. At the start of the fight phase, the bearer can look upon their reflection. Ooh, very Emperor's Children-y. Until the end of that phase, this weapon has a strength characteristic of ×2, and when resolving an attack made by this weapon, subtract 1 to hit. So -1 to hit, but gets +2 strength, or ×2 strength, but it's -4 D3 damage, -1 to hit. Okay, cool. If you're like, ooh, don't I look pretty? Raiment Revulsive. When resolving an attack made by a model with this relic, you can re-roll the hit roll, you can re-roll the wound roll. When charge roll is made, you can re-roll the result. When resolving an attack made by a model with this relic, you can re-roll the hit roll, re-roll the wound roll, so it's just an attack. Okay, yeah. Cool, so I believe you just give re-roll hits and wounds and re-roll charges. That seems very powerful. Emperor's Children tactical objectives as always, and an Emperor's Children name generator. I've always wanted a blast master named Adar Racindus. Adar Racindus, my faithful blast master. And last but not least, we have the World Eaters, because you always want to start your day with a good dose of cornflakes. Delicious. Yum, yum, yum. I don't know why I'm rubbing myself here, because my stomach is down here, but you can see this. Yum, 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 yum. World Eaters. World Eaters warlord traits. Slaughterborn. An enemy character, monster, titanic model is destroyed as a result of an attack made with this warlord. Add 1 to this model's attacks and strength. So he gets better as he kills things. Arc Slaughterer. At the start of the fight phase, add D3 to this warlord's attacks characteristics. if there are more enemy models within 3 inches of them, that they are friendly models. These extra attacks last until the end of that fight phase. Number 3, Disciples of Khorne. When resolving an attack made with a melee weapon by this warlord against an enemy character, unit, or unit that contains any models with a wounds characteristic of 5 or more, you can re-roll the hit roll and you can re-roll the wound roll. So it makes him really good at killing big characters and things like that. Violent Urgency. When an advance or charge roll is made for a friendly World Eater's unit within 6 inches of this warlord, add 1 to the result. So +1 to advance, +1 to charge. True Berserker. When resolving an attack made with a melee weapon against this model, halve any damage inflicted, rounded up. So makes it a lot more durable in close combat. Battle Lust. This warlord can perform a heroic intervention if there are enemy units within 6 inches instead of 3, and when doing so can move 6 inches instead of 3. It always fights first in the fight phase, even if they didn't charge, and of course the caveat for that remains. And then we go into their stratagems. Okay, so World Eater's stratagems. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them. Scorn of Sorcery. So they get to deny the Witch stratagem, which is pretty cool. You can, when a Psycho model manifests psychic power within 24 of a World Eater unit, roll a d6 on a 4+, you can negate a psychic power. Super powerful. Apoplectic Frenzy. Use a stratagem during deployment when you set up World Eater's infantry unit from your army. At the start of the first battle round, you can move that unit 9 inches. So essentially you can just pre-move all your infantry up to get them close to the enemy, which is pretty cool. 1 command point. Kill, maim, burn. That's a standard Karn the Betrayer saying. Use a stratagem in the fight phase before you consolidate with a World Eater's unit. Until the end of that phase, each model can move 6 inches when they consolidate instead of 3. That's very powerful for anybody who knows. Plus, your Khorne Berserkers attack twice, and it's till the end of that phase they can move 6 inches. So if you do it on a unit of Khorne Berserkers, you can consolidate 6 inches and then attack again, and then consolidate 6 inches again, because it's till the end of the phase. That can be super, super strong. And then if you make them attack again with the Khorne strat or whatever, I don't know if you can, but if there's attack again, maybe, I don't know. I don't play Chaos enough. Let me know in the comments down below if that is possible or not. Wild Fury. Use a stratagem in the fight phase when you select a World Eater's unit from your army to fight with. Until the end of that phase, improve the armor penetration of melee weapons by 1. Cool, just in the fight phase. I like it. Just +1 AP to combat weapons for 1 command point. Not bad. Skulls for the Skull Throne. Use a stratagem in the fight phase when an enemy character model is destroyed as a result of an attack made by a World Eater's character model from your army. You just gain D3 command points. Chop off a character's head with one of your characters, D3 command points. Stoke the Nails. Remember, they've got like big nail head things that they implant in their brain that make them like all loopy and crazy. Use a stratagem in the fight phase when a Wordbearer's infantry biker unit that is not a cultist is chosen to fight with. Until the end of that phase, that unit's Death to the False Emperor takes effect when targeting any units, so they get the Flawless Host bonus. That's pretty cool. And in addition, when targeting Imperium units, the ability takes effect on a 5+. Neat. For 1 command point, that's pretty cool. This is one of my favorites, the Red Butchers. It's 2 command points. You select a World Eater's Chaos Terminator unit and add +1 to the strength of the models in their unit, and they gain the ability Blood for the Blood God. That unit can fight twice in each fight phase instead of once. You can have a unit of Khorne Berserker Terminators that get to fight twice. Yeah, that's really cool. I really like that. And then Blood for the Blood God. 2 command points. Use a stratagem in the fight phase after an enemy unit is destroyed as a result of an attack made by World Eater's model from your army, until the start of the next turn, when a morale test taken for friendly World Eater's unit, do not roll, automatically pass. Okay, that's fine. Doesn't seem too powerful there. Then we have the Artifacts of the World Eaters. 3 weapons, 3 pieces of gear. The Crimson Killer. Plasma Pistol replacement. It's a 12-inch plasma pistol, strength 9, minus 3 AP, and straight 3 damage. When resolving an attack made by this weapon, an unmodified wound wound of a 4+ inflicts 1 mortal wound on the target in addition to any normal damage. So it could do up to 4 damage with 1 pistol. That's pretty cool. Gore Father, that's Karn the Betrayer. Karn the Betrayer has Gore Child. So Gore Father is the big axe that Angron used to use. A model with a chain axe only. This relic replaces a chain axe. It is a melee weapon, plus 2 strength, minus 2 AP, 3 damage. When resolving an attack made by this weapon, subtract 1 to hit. On an unmodified wound roll of a 6, the target suffers 3 mortal wounds. And that's it. So if you roll a 6 to wound, it's just 3 mortal wounds. Boop. Cool if you have invulnerable saves and stuff. Banner of Rage. Sadly, it's not in addition to. That would be really cool. Priest model only. Once per battle, at the start of the fight phase, a model with this relic can unfurl the Banner of Rage. If they do so, add 1 to attacks of models in friendly World Eaters units within 6 inches. Remember the old 3rd edition relic that you could buy like once per battle, and you could do it, and all models within 12 inches, or 2d6 inches gain plus 1 attack? That reminds me of that. So Banner of Rage, plus 1 attack to all units within 6 inches once per game. Just be like, yeah, now you're going to get it. Berserker Glaive is another weapon. Model with an axe, a power axe, or an axe of dismemberment. It's a plus 1 strength, minus 2 AP, 2 damage. The bearer would lose a wound. On a 5+, that wound is not lost. So 5 up, feel no pain, and a 2 damage, minus 2 AP power axe. That's pretty cool. Helm of Furor. Furori. Infantry model only. If that's how, let me know how to pronounce that, please. Infantry model only. Add 2 to the strength characteristic of a model with this relic. At the start of your charge phase, if a model with this relic is within 8 of an enemy unit, it must declare a charge. But plus 2 strength is not bad. Like, you could have a demon that's like strength 9 now. That's pretty. Demon Prince with strength 9. Not too shabby. Blood Hunger. When an enemy model is destroyed in the fight phase as a result of an attack made by a model with this relic, on a 4+, the model with this relic regains 1 lost wound. So he basically feeds on people. Rawr. So that's pretty neat for the word bearers. Just lots of combat-y stuff. And there's the tactical objectives, and of course the World Eater name generator. And I always wanted a Khorne Berserker named Korged Skullfiend. Korged Skullfiend. The Khorne Berserker that Skari always wanted. And that, folks, is the end of our Faith and Fury review. What did you think of the new rules? Is this going to make you look at some of the cool Chaos Legions to add to your Chaos Army? If you missed the first segment, which was all the Adeptus Astartes Loyalist stuff, check the link down below to the first video in this series. And I'm really happy you were able to take a look at that. After all, I am Skari, your grateful host, sending a shout out to all the denizens of the Dark City, the generous Patreons without whom I wouldn't be able to do this. For all of you guys out there, if you'd like to jump on and support, check the links down below for more merch and the Patreon page as well. I am Skari, signing off until next time. Skari out. Bye!